What's up, people? Back with another reaction, back with some more acid-trance. We're going to listen to another tune by Michael Kors, though it's under his Mirage guise, which is to say, Michael Kors is one of my favorite all-time producers. I think I mentioned it in a few videos before. Certainly I mentioned it in a lot of reviews on Discogs under the Mr. Tom Servo name. Michael Kors and Pablo Gargano are basically in a constant and perpetual struggle for my favorite acid-trance producer of all time. Their catalogs are just both so rich. Now, it's funny, because back in the day, Pablo Gargano, I was getting Eve records, but I didn't know who was making them. And, you know, the whole thing about Eve is that senza volto, like without face, it was about, you know, it's about the tunes, it's not about, you know, the ego of the person making them and so on. So I've always given Pablo Gargano a lot of credit for that. But as a DJ, it was annoying. It was like, what tune are you playing? Eve 17 B2, like it literally you didn't know the tracks you were playing or the artist. Whereas Kors, it was more figuring out all the different aliases he was using. Like Kors, Cores is the name he used on Noom for all his releases on Noom, but he used Kors with a K, which is how he spells his real surname, for a couple releases on Global Ambition, including a great one called Oxbow. But then he also released tunes in conjunction with a couple other people under the name Space Surfer, and then for a couple releases on Technogold, which is what this label is, he used the name Mirage. So this record is definite two-tracker, both are really great. We're going to listen to the tune Thor, but Zeus on the other side is just as good. There's another record he did on this label under the name Mirage, where it's Kioma and Cirrus. Kioma is a very popular tune. It was used on one of those Reactivate compilations, and I think a lot of people know it from that. But yeah, again, just, you know, this is from 1996. I mentioned it before, 1996, a great year for trance, a great year for techno, a great year for hardcore. But yeah, it's a record from 96. It's Michael Kors at the absolute top of his game. This track could have been used just as easily as a Kors with a C on Noom. It could have been an Albion on Time Unlimited. It's really just Michael Kors at the absolute top of his game. I do have 2 copies of this record, but I didn't feel the need to dig out the second copy because it would literally just be to show you, because this is definitely the better, or the copy in better condition. So let's get to it. This is Michael Kors as Mirage, and the tune is called Thor. It's Technogold 002-6, and as I said, it was released in 96. I think it was actually released on Halloween, October 31st, 1996. Anytime now. Yeah, it's Michael Kors at the top of his game. It's dark, it's moody, but energetic and acid-rich, layered with acid. This tune is all those things. Good tune to start an acid-trance mix with. Moment where this classic Michael Kors acid trance, hard trance bass line comes in. Right now my brain's just waiting for it. It's like the acid transformer is slowly getting louder and louder, more powerful. But I'm just waiting on that bass line. An extra acid warble. Acid layer, really rapid fire and sharp. that in your windpipe? It's delightful. Dying out here. It's like the acid where it turns cold and blue. But the transformer's still on. Ugh. That little synth layer, variations of that he's used in other tracks like Schadenfreude and the remix of Acidius. Aramis. There's like 3 or 4 tracks that are all kind of like different versions of the same tune that he's done over the years. This is a very different tune, but that one layer, you hear shades of those other tracks. Bassline's coming back, come on. And that lead, the acid line, just that like, it's like an alarm, it's like announcing the storm to the world. Oh, the symbol. It's just mid-90s acid trance par excellence. Because you got the lead one, then you've got the like real churning, like rapid line that's like sharp. And then that sort of floaty melody, it's almost like it's backwards. It was like spun so rich, it was like acid trance sugar. It's just the journey, and I'm thinking like, it's already been what, like 6 minutes, something like that? 7 minutes? And still chirping, still acidic right to the very end. And again, I mentioned, that long sort of dramatic acid-rich intro. You could use it as a starting track. You could clearly use it as an ending track too. Yep, like I said, it's Michael Kors on the top of his game in '96, and when it comes to acid trance and just '90s acid music more generally, doesn't often get much better than that. So, as I said, he's one of my favorite producers. Just overall, like I say, acid trance, and that's true. It's like him and Pablo Gargano are probably the very top, and then there's a number of other producers that are right there too. Commander Tom, R.I.P. But yeah, bottom line, Kytracid and a number of others. But yeah, bottom line, Solar Quest. What am I saying? Don't forget Solar Quest. But yeah, bottom line, Michael Kors is one of my very favorite producers. That track is a good example why. Yeah, and as I often say, acid trance forever. I feel like it's a genre that, like, you know, it doesn't get made much these days. Every once in a while there's a tune, usually coming from someone in the acid techno world, like Jack Wax would be a good example. Jack Wax makes a lot of acid techno, but there are some of his tracks that I feel capture kind of the spirit and some of the sonics of 90s acid trance. So yeah, there's a few producers who make tunes that you could maybe call modern acid trance, but as a genre, it doesn't really exist in the same way that it used to. So yeah, you know, long live the acid trance, even if a lot of what I'm listening to is, you know, old tunes from the 90s and maybe early 2000s. But yeah, like I said, Michael Kors is one of my favorite producers for a reason. It's a top record. As I mentioned, the other record he did as Mirage on Technogold includes a tune, Kioma, that, like I said, I know it's very popular among some people, especially those who used to follow the compilation CDs on React, and they were called like Reactivate 1 through like 11 or something. Like, there were a lot of them. I don't remember. I never actually had them. I knew a couple people had one or two of them. But yeah, so it's like I knew that tune just because I kind of followed Michael Kors, and so like once I knew that he released records under the name Mirage, I quickly figured out, like, I found that tune. It was like, oh man, that's a fantastic track. And then I remember when I would play it for a couple people, you know, I'd send them the link in the YouTube video. I'd be like, hey, you know, check this out if you like acid trance, whatever. And they're like, oh man, I heard that somewhere. I think it's on a Reactivate CD. And like a number of people said that to me. So yeah, I'll come back and react to that one. Do let me know what you think of this. Other than that, I will see you next time. Peace.